A few days ago, I was watching an interview with the CEO of Hinge. If you don't know Hinge, it's a dating app. There was a moment that completely threw me off. So she said that technology can be an incredible force for bringing people together. And honestly, the more I thought about it, the less I was sure whether I agree with her or not. Because on the paper, it sounds right. I can technically reach more people today than any human being could do 50 years ago. So if technology is bringing us together, why are we still feeling lonely and lonelier every year? That is the part I can't stop thinking about. Let's be honest, real connection hits differently. So I personally think that technology is amazing at maintaining relationships, but is it equally good at replacing them? I don't think so. And that made me think about dating apps. Did you know that Hinge has its own slogan? Just wait. The dating app designed to be deleted. That's bizarre. No, I tell you, that's exactly what she said.
Hinge is known for being the dating app designed to be deleted. Relationships and connection are the essence of life and are the most important thing to us.
I mean, how does a business that builds on engagement also claims that its main purpose is to reduce its own usage? It's like if Netflix said, you know what, we created a platform with lots of TV series and movies, so you'd eventually quit and just go and read more books. As a viewer, I see a contradiction. Like, are you trying to fool me? Look, companies can genuinely have a good mission, but sometimes can still be driven by incentives that work against those goals. That's why I'm always careful when technology is presented as a cure of the problem they helped create it. Like, loneliness rises, so we built a digital solution. You feel anxious about rejection? We built a system that lowers emotional cost of trying. People are uncertain about commitment? That's okay. Look, monogamy is outdated. We have polyamory, open relationships, situationship, and like other options, which you can also explore in our dating apps.
The largest growth driver within the umbrella is actually individuals identifying as bisexual. And a majority of those individuals are young women. There are women who may not have had a romantic relationship, but identify as bisexual. So there is something really, I think, encouraging and open-minded and exploratory in the way that young people think about relationships and what sort of committed, romantic, intentional relationship they want to be in.
I don't know what to think about this statement. As a Gen Z, when I think about exploring my identity and myself in general and my preferences, I don't think about apps at first. You know, it just like doesn't click. Okay, yeah, I don't know my sexual orientation, so I'm gonna go into apps, dating apps, and I will try lots of different people and I will just know, you know? It's like maybe I'm quite old-fashioned or like conservative, but I really prefer discovering myself through talking to people in real life, you know, and I don't know, just listening to myself. And that's why I understand that people are all different. And I understand that maybe, well, it's modern times and some people discover themselves actually in within the apps, okay? But maybe it's just not my story. So in the world of lots of options and temptations, it's kind of interesting that people are surprised that the whole thing starts to feel more fragile. Think about swiping. Swiping is such a simple gesture, but it has a whole philosophy behind. I never thought I would use philosophy and swiping in the same sentence. It turns a person into a quick yes or no. It's fast, it's dopaminish, and it makes the process feel like a game, even when the stakes are deeply serious. And that's one of the biggest contradictions, isn't it? We treat dating like a game, but we still want it to lead to family, kids, shared life, future. We want the playful surface and the serious outcome. But maybe those two things are not easily separated. Because if the beginning of the relationship is organized around endless choice, constant comparison, and the idea that there is always someone else just one swipe away, then how does that shape the way we stay when things get hard. And relationships do get hard. That's the part modern culture doesn't often want to hear. There is this growing feeling that when something becomes difficult, maybe it means it was wrong from the start. If there is friction or like a little discomfort or the spark doesn't feel effortless every single day, so that means we found the wrong person. But honestly, that sounds less like wisdom and more like impatience dressed in self-respect. Because the most valuable things in life are not easy to get. And definitely not easy to keep them going. They require friction, communication, work, self-work, patience, compromises. This is a romantic part, right? About the relationships. I think when we talk more about like partnership, it's not about chemistry. It's about maintenance, mutual adjustment, and the willingness to learn another person's internal weather over time.
I believe technology can be an incredible force for bringing people together and helping you find people who you may not have met in your backyard. The role of the app itself is to ultimately get you off of the app so you're meeting in person.
So, helping you to find people you may not have met. Personally, feeling like selling me something I really didn't know I needed. Okay, so now the world is open. More people, more chances to find love. This sounds so intriguing, so I guess I'm gonna go and play some video games. Yeah, and people can wait. I can always come back. Other thing, when I was in high school, I had a best friend. And if I wanted to spend time with her, I needed to help her to work. Yeah, that was a requirement list from her mother. If I would not help her, then I could not spend time with her. And then I would feel so bored and drown in sorrows and loneliness. So, you know what? Fuck video games, I can always come back to them later. You probably guessed what's the meaning of the story. I actually don't know, but the story is cool. So, this video isn't about deleting all apps. I'm fully aware that modern problems require modern solutions. What interests me is something different. And exactly that formats teach us behavior. You can agree that bookshops teaches us a bit differently than a book talk. Cinema also teaches you differently than YouTube shorts. And I wonder, what does endless swiping teach us about relationships? When you scroll products, you assume that there are more products for you, right? When you scroll people, what exactly happens then? Maybe nothing. Or maybe something very subtle. I started to think about how we see people when we see a lot of them. Like, example, you had 50 dates. Would your next date feel the same as it was like your first dates? I guess if I was this person who had 50 dates, I would more expect, okay, what is this unique about you? Like, I would expect something extra. I would expect something more fascinating, something more exciting, something more life-changing. It's like addiction. When you have lots of sugar, you feel like you want to have even more sugar. So I guess we start treating people as an option, because when everything feels so accessible, nothing feels rare anymore. And when nothing feels rare, I guess it becomes more difficult to find any meanings, like any meaningfulness in people in general, in a particular person, in actually in many things, not only speaking of relationships, but right now we talk about relationships. And what's the chance you're gonna find a person for building a long-term relationships? Because I don't think that dating apps are the reason we feel more and more lonely. Loneliness is much bigger than that. Like, it's economy, it's a lifestyle, it's individualism. But dating sits somewhere in the middle. And it's like a mirror. And what they optimize is not a connection, but like access. Access to people, access to possibilities and opportunities. And access does not create closeness, but it creates motion. And motion does feel like progress, but it doesn't mean it's gonna lead you to somewhere meaningful. And maybe that's where the loneliness starts. Not because we don't meet people or like we meet wrong people, but just we don't know what we want. So going back to the statement about exploring your identity, I would ask the same question, like, how valid is that? Why do you think that you can explore your identity better online, scrolling different profiles, meeting different, like, random people, choosing people by the description and not by the feeling? Like, how is this better? So is the cure technology? Did we already enter the era where we can't just go back, where offline dating, meeting people on the streets in a cafe and asking them, some things, talking to them, and even having courage to ask them out is dead? Let me know in the comments, and what are your experiences with using dating apps. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video.